Mr. West, Yeezy, Yeezus, Ye, Pablo, Kanye West. You all have an opinion on him. You love him or you hate him, and there's hardly ever any in between. Today, I ask you guys to set aside any preconceived notions you have about Kanye West and just walk with me through his early years, his controversies, and one of his most influential albums, 808s and Heartbreak. Kanye West was born in the summer of 1977 in Atlanta, Georgia, but was raised and grew up in Chicago, Illinois. He was son to father Ray West and mother Donda West. Kanye comes from a middle-class suburban household. Donda West is one of the most influential figures in his life and has had one of the most meaningful impacts on him over the span of his entire career. Donda West was a university professor in Atlanta and Chicago. She even taught in China for a while, where, as we can see, Kanye lived and got to experience a foreign culture. He even picked up on the language, but it was so long ago that he has now forgotten it. Donda West was one of his biggest believers and supporters. She had even rented a studio for Kanye to work on his beats and tracks, and this garnered the attention of one of the most notable rappers at this time, JayZ. JayZ and Kanye's partnership is iconic to say the least. Some can even say JayZ jump-started Kanye's career. But JayZ at first was quite hesitant to sign Kanye onto his label as a rapper and signed him onto Rockefeller Studios or Records as a producer and mainly used them to produce his tracks and singles. On October 23rd, 2002, driving home from a late night at the studio, Kanye fell asleep at the wheel and was involved in a very fatal car accident. In this car accident, he had shattered his jaw and almost lost his life. But Kanye being Kanye, only 2 weeks later, got back in the studio with the jaw wired shut, released his debut single, Through the Wire. In this song, you can clearly tell that Kanye slurs some of his speech and he's not articulating his words quite well. This was unheard of. It jump-started Kanye's career like we have never seen a rapper's career jumpstart before. With the success that followed Kanye's single, we must talk about the controversies. In 2006, following the devastating destruction of Hurricane Katrina, NBC News had a telethon for disaster relief hosted by various notable celebrities. Two of these celebrities were Mike Myers and Kanye West. Kanye West was speaking on the misrepresentation of the African American community during this time and uttered one of the most infamous lines known: George Bush doesn't care about black people. In 2009, during the MTV VMAs, Taylor Swift was on stage accepting her Best Female Artist of the Year award and was about to give her acceptance speech, when Kanye rushed the stage and interrupted her and uttered the also now infamous lines, "I'm gonna let you finish, Taylor, but Beyonce had one of the best music videos of all time." This garnered national media attention and inspired tons of memes. In 2017, it came to the light that Kanye had been suffering from bipolar disorder for a very long time. We could see some of his manic episodes through his series of tweets on Twitter and some of his questionable interviews and his even running for office. Kim Kardashian, his now ex-wife, took to Twitter apologizing on his behalf and also letting us know that he had been suffering from severe bipolar disorder. This sheds some light on some of his previous very controversial actions and give us a little bit of context as to why those occurred. With the controversies, although, we cannot ignore the enormous success that Kanye has had. With over 21 Grammys, 6 platinum solo albums, Late Registration, College Dropout, Graduation, 808s and Heartbreak, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, Yeezus, The Life of Pablo, Jesus is King, and set to release later this year, Donda. The album I'd really like to talk to you guys about today, though, is 808s and Heartbreak, which I consider to be one of the most influential rap albums or hip-hop albums of its time. Following the unfortunate death of his mother, Donda West, and the separation of his then fiancée, Alexis Pfeiffer, Kanye West was in a very dark time. And instead of turning to negative habits or drinking or drug abuse, he went straight to the studio in Kanye fashion. And he poured his feelings and emotions out on tracks and singles that we had never heard rappers be emotional about before, especially during this time when the rap game was flooded by raps about drugs and women and money. Kanye spoke about his feelings and that it was okay to be emotional and vulnerable. This inspired a new generation of kids and appealed to a new demographic, and went on to inspire rappers who have gave him credit for their success: Drake, Kid Cudi, Lil Uzi Vert, Travis Scott, and Juice WRLD. I want to thank you guys for setting aside any preconceived notions or any dislikes you had about Kanye, and thank you for walking with me through his early years, his controversies, and what I consider to be one of his most influential albums, 808s and Heartbreak.